Kandi speaks out amid ongoing divorce from Todd. I show up with a smile, while on the inside I'm emotionally broken. This is the sentence that stopped the entire internet cold, because for years, people have known Kandi Burruss as the strong one, the stable one, the businesswoman, the unmovable rock in every storm. But today, her voice cracked. Welcome to Pop Showroom, your premier destination for the deepest dives into celebrity, film, and cultural trends. We cut through the noise so you can understand the chaos. Let's dim the lights and get this show started. Today, she revealed a version of herself that her fans, her friends, and even some of her closest castmates have never seen. And the moment those words were posted, the entire world realized something heartbreaking. The strong friend is finally admitting she's hurting. This story begins right there, with Kandi looking directly into a camera, sharing pictures of herself at events, smiling, laughing, posing, all while confessing that in every one of those photos, her heart was falling apart behind the scenes. What people saw was confidence. What she felt was collapse. In her own words, she said, "This is what I look like when I'm going through something. I show up for my family, I show up for my friends, I show up to handle my business, and I show up with a smile, all while on the inside I'm emotionally broken." For Kandi, that wasn't just a caption. It was a confession, and it immediately sent shockwaves through social media, because this wasn't the image people associated with her. This is the same woman who built a music empire, a reality TV legacy, multiple businesses, Broadway productions, restaurants, and more. She's always been the person who pushes through, the person who handles it, the friend who shows up even when she's exhausted. But this time, the pain was too deep to hide. And that pain came from the one place she thought was safe, her marriage. Because behind the scenes, as cameras stopped rolling and the glam came off, Kandi was dealing with something she admits she internalized alone: the unraveling of her relationship with Todd Tucker. Multiple reports claim Kandi discovered that Todd had been communicating with other women behind her back, messages she was never supposed to see, conversations that immediately shifted the foundation of their marriage. These weren't rumors whispered by blogs. These were claims that allegedly pushed Kandi to the point where she had to make a decision she never wanted to face: filing for divorce. And while the world looked at her red carpet photos, while fans watched her dancing at events, while followers saw her smiling with friends, Kandi was breaking inside. She said the people in those photos had no idea she was dealing with something life-changing. They couldn't see her internal stress. They couldn't feel her sadness. And she clarified something important. "This is not being fake. This is just how I deal with things. I internalize and deal with it alone." That line, "I internalize and deal with it alone," sparked a major conversation online. Because how many strong women, how many mothers, how many leaders, how many people who seem unshakable are carrying their pain alone too? Kandi labeled herself the poster child for "check on your strong friends," because you never know what they are going through. And that's when her fans started connecting the dots. The abrupt shifts in her social media presence, the quiet moments that felt out of character, the lack of posts with Todd, the sudden emotional vulnerability. It all led to this moment, the moment she finally admitted what she was fighting silently. And as if the emotional toll wasn't enough, the legal drama only intensified it. Because shortly after news of the divorce surfaced, Todd made his next move, a move that stunned even longtime fans of their marriage. Todd reportedly announced he would be seeking primary custody of their children, not joint, primary, and he also began questioning whether the couple's prenuptial agreement was even enforceable, claiming his legal team wasn't present during the signing. For someone like Kandi, who built her empire brick by brick, that wasn't just a legal threat. It was a personal betrayal. So now, as the world watches this marriage fall apart in real time, Kandi stands in a place she has never stood before. A public figure, a mother, a powerhouse, finally admitting she's hurting. But what comes next? How deep does the betrayal go? And why is Todd suddenly fighting for primary custody after years of being the one who stayed in the background? The moment the divorce filings hit the public, people expected chaos. But nobody expected this level of escalation. Not this quickly, not this aggressively, and definitely not from Todd Tucker. Because while Kandi was using her voice to be vulnerable and honest, Todd was preparing for battle. Let's rewind to the moment everything shifted. Sources close to Kandi say she discovered messages, conversations Todd was allegedly having with other women. Women she didn't know about. Women she didn't expect her husband, the father of her children, to be engaging with. Whether it was emotional cheating, inappropriate communication, or something deeper. The discovery shattered her, because Kandi isn't naive and she isn't dramatic for attention. She's a businesswoman with intuition, with instincts, and with years of understanding people. So when she saw those messages, she didn't need anyone to explain them to her. She knew exactly what they meant. And that's when the internal storm began. She didn't yell. She didn't run to the internet. She didn't posture for sympathy. She did what strong people do. She tried to hold herself together while her world cracked. But while Kandi was quietly breaking, Todd was quietly planning. Because instead of accountability, instead of reconciliation, instead of reflecting on what went wrong, Todd went straight to defense mode. And that's when things turned from emotional pain to legal warfare. Todd's lawyers made it clear. He wants primary custody of their daughter Blaze and wants significant influence over the household decisions regarding Ace. That alone shocked fans, because for years, Todd was not the parent people associated with daily caregiving. Kandi has always been the provider, the protector, the planner, the parent who made sure everything stayed afloat. So, why suddenly fight for primary custody now? Well, that's where things get even more complicated. Inside sources say Todd believes that Kandi's demanding schedule, her businesses, productions, TV commitments, and music career could be used to argue that he should be the primary day-to-day parent. And while that argument might sound strategic in a courtroom, to fans it felt like a slap in the face. Because Kandi built everything she has while being a mother. She built her empire without ever neglecting her kids. She made time for recitals, games, birthdays, family vacations, family dinners, while Todd benefited from the lifestyle that her hard work created. And now he wants to use that hard work against her. That's where the outrage began. But Todd didn't stop there. He also began challenging the prenup. A prenup that Kandi insisted on to protect the empire she built long before Todd entered her world. Todd's team claims the prenup may be invalid because his own lawyer wasn't present during the signing years ago. But here's the thing, Todd signed willingly. He signed with full knowledge of what that prenup protected. Kandi's businesses, her royalties, her properties, her intellectual property, and her future earnings. So now, questioning its enforceability feels less like concern and more like strategy. And that strategy sent a very clear message. Todd wants a bigger piece of the pie. Meanwhile, while Todd is playing legal chess, Kandi is fighting to hold on to herself. Because at the same time that these filings were being prepared, she was still showing up at work, still filming, still helping her children with homework, still smiling in photos, still attending meetings, still appearing at premieres, still performing on stage. And all along, nobody knew she was breaking inside. This is why her post resonated so deeply, because when she said, "In every pic of this video, I was internally dealing with something life-changing," it finally revealed the truth. She was suffering while still being the glue that held everything together. But even with all this pain, all this betrayal, all this pressure. Kandi hasn't dragged Todd publicly. She hasn't humiliated him. She hasn't exposed him. Because she doesn't believe in destruction. She believes in dignity. But make no mistake, the storm isn't over. Because Todd is gearing up for a fight. Kandi is preparing to protect herself and her children. And the public is watching every move, every filing, every quote, every shift in tone. But the most important part of this story isn't the divorce papers. It isn't the legal drama. It isn't the custody battle. It's what happens next, when a strong woman finally hits her breaking point. A woman can only carry the weight of the world on her shoulders for so long before she realizes something. She deserves to put herself first. And that is exactly where Kandi Burruss is right now, standing at the edge of a chapter she never asked for, but one she is determined to survive. Let's walk into Kandi's mind for a moment. Imagine being the provider, the emotional anchor, the one who solves the problems, runs the businesses, raises the kids, motivates the staff, supports the family, and still keeps your household stable. Imagine doing that for years without asking for applause, without begging for gratitude, without demanding anyone notice. Then imagine discovering that the one person you trusted, the one person who knew how much weight you were carrying, was entertaining conversations with other women. It's not just betrayal. It's disrespect. It's dismissal. It's the pain of realizing someone benefited from your strength, but never truly protected it. That's where Kandi was when she wrote that post. Not trying to gain sympathy, not trying to go viral, but simply telling her truth. I'm the poster child for check on your strong friends. Because being strong is a blessing and a curse. When you're strong, people forget you can break. When you're strong, people assume you're always okay. When you're strong, people don't think to ask if you need help. And Kandi finally reached her breaking point. But here's the part of the story that changes everything. It didn't break her permanently. It broke her open. It forced her to sit with her emotions, not bury them. It forced her to see her worth, not question it. It forced her to stand up for herself, not stay silent for peace. Because strength isn't holding everything in. Strength is knowing when to let go. And Kandi let go. She let go of the hurt she was hiding behind her smile. She let go of the guilt she was carrying for wanting better. She let go of the version of herself that sacrificed her happiness to keep the peace. This new version of Kandi is not the same woman who walked into this marriage. This version is clear. This version is awake. This version is done tolerating emotional neglect. And that's exactly why this divorce story matters. Because while Todd is strategizing legal moves, while lawyers are debating prenups and custody, while social media picks apart every detail, Kandi is having a rebirth. For the first time in a long time, she is focusing on her own peace. Not the image, not the show, not the expectations, not the pressure to stay quiet. She's learning to breathe again, to feel again, to speak again, to live again. And what makes this even more compelling is that she's not hiding the journey anymore. Kandi is showing the raw parts, the painful parts, the uncomfortable truth that even successful women, even powerful women, can be heartbroken. She's telling women everywhere, you're not weak for breaking. You're human. But let's be clear, this isn't the end of Kandi Burruss's story. If anything, it's the beginning of her most powerful chapter yet. Because Kandi has survived worse. The industry, heartbreaks, betrayals, business failures, scandals, and pressures that would have crushed anyone else. And every time, she came back stronger. That's why fans are rooting for her. That's why social media is rallying behind her. That's why women are saying, I feel this in my soul. Because what Kandi is going through isn't just celebrity drama. It's universal. It's relatable. It's the story of every woman who stayed too strong for too long until she had no strength left for herself. And now, Kandi is rebuilding, with clarity, with courage, with honesty, with intention. She is leaving behind the version of herself who smiled through pain, who protected everyone but herself, who carried burdens that weren't hers to carry. She's entering the version who says, "I deserve joy. I deserve peace. I deserve truth." And Todd, he will have to face the reality that he didn't just lose a wife. He lost the woman who held everything together. As this divorce unfolds, one thing is certain. Kandi Burruss may be emotionally broken, but she is far from defeated. In fact, this is the moment she becomes unstoppable. Because when a strong woman stops pretending she's okay, when she finally speaks her truth, when she finally chooses herself, there is nothing more powerful than that. And as this story continues to unfold, one thing is clear. Kandi isn't just enduring this breakup. She's becoming reborn because of it.